rise and shine. Coffee's brewing, feeling fine. News is out and on the air. Shizzy Whiz nuts wild, but we don't care. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz nuts, start the show. Let's go. Spinning in the breeze, stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java, wear a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Headlines spinning in the breeze, stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java, wear a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Serious is overrated. Every day we're caffeinated. Talk the town, but in a jest. Morning Whiz is always best. Time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop.
Oh my god, Shizzy breaks Larry. Shizzy broke Larry.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. What a day. Good morning, Gildozer, Debbie Webb, Mary, Mary Smith. How you doing? Oh man, just like Mary. Don't be so contrary, Mary Smith. That's great. I got two Marys in here. I got a Mary Smith, and I just saw it, and I'm not gonna be able to say Rabiki. That's pretty cool. Two Marys. That's awesome. Carol, good morning. Good to see you. Pam, man. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Paul, how you doing this morning? Yes. Hey, Jim, how you doing? Good morning, Lori. Yes. Good morning, everyone. It is another another Thursday. These days just seem to be flying on by, and it looks like, holy crap, Elon is about to be ousted as CEO. According to a new report about a month ago, Tesla board began to search for a successor to Elon Musk as CEO as the company's stock took a hit and critics predictably pounced. Ooh. The Wall Street Journal reports that behind the scenes, Tesla board members quietly began contacting executive search firms to initiate a formal process for finding Musk's potential successor, according to sources familiar with the matter. Around that time, Tesla's board met with Musk for an update. Board members told him he needed to spend more time on Tesla, according to people familiar with the meeting. The paper reported Wednesday evening and he needed to say so publicly. Last week, after the company said its first quarter profits had plunged 71%, Musk told investors he would soon pivot back to his job at Tesla. Starting next month, he said in the conference call about earnings, I will be allocating far more of my time to Tesla. The board narrowed its focus to a major search firm. According to the people familiar with the discussions, the current status of succession planning couldn't be determined. It is also unclear if Musk himself, a Tesla board member, was aware of the effort or if his pledge to spend more time at Tesla has affected succession planning. Musk didn't respond to requests for comment during a cabinet meeting on Wednesday. Trump thanked Musk for his government work, You know you're invited to stay as long as you want, Trump said. I guess he wants to get back home to his cars. So it's not clear whether Musk's renewed focus on Tesla will be enough to pause or permanently shelve the board's quiet secession plan. But here's what is clear. Without Musk's relentless vision, the company wouldn't be where it is today. Musk hadn't just led Tesla, he is Tesla. He took on the entrenched auto giants, defied Wall Street expectations, and built a brand that turned electric vehicles from a novelty into a global standard. The Tesla Model Y was the best-selling car in the world last year. Not only was it the best-selling electric car, but it was the best-selling car overall. There's no sugarcoating what his exit would mean. Sorry about that. I just lost it. There's no sugarcoating what his exit would mean. He wouldn't be a routine CEO transition. It would be a seismic shift. Musk's departure would hit Tesla the same way that Steve Jobs' loss rocked Apple, deeply, painfully, and perhaps irreversibly. He's not just a figurehead or a product guy. He's the motor behind the company's innovation, the public face of its boldest ambitions, and the only person with the guts to take that kind of risks that made Tesla what it is. You can't replace that with a polished resume and safer pair of hands. Board can start flipping through search firm dossiers, but let's be honest, there's no next Elon Musk waiting in the wings, not at Tesla and not anywhere else. Others know this too. I believe in Musk. I believe in what Musk has done with Tesla so much. I bought the new Model Y, which I hope to be picking up this weekend. Wow, that's a lot of trust in a car company. Would the board really be reckless enough to push Musk out? It's hard to imagine. Since the board began exploring a succession plan about a month ago, Tesla stock has rebounded, thanks in part to signals that Musk is refocusing attention on the company. In other words, they got exactly what they wanted, Musk doubling down on Tesla. That alone suggests the board understands just how critical he is. And if there was any doubt left, the market erased it. Tesla stock dipped sharply after Wall Street Journal reports surface, a clear sign investors see Musk as indispensable. Boom, look at that. So let's see what happens. Perhaps the board was just trying to nudge Musk back to the company. That's crazy. Yeah, Tesla won't survive without him. I mean, it could, but it would be a those are some shoes that you would have a hard time filling. I mean, because the man has vision, and he also is a big risk taker, which, taking those kinds of risks can be really, really detrimental to a company. Um, and as much as people are saying, well, the company would do great without him there. I mean, do you really want to risk that? Also, one of the problems that Tesla might be running into that they really don't want to talk about is what's going on between the United States and China. That can cause a great big hit also. Um, I'll give you a perfect example. Here in just a second. I'm doing something over here that you're not allowed to see. No, it's not dirty or anything like that. Here's the problem that you run into with what's going on between China and the United States. And I just use this as an example. I was looking at getting a new video card for my computer because it's about to crap out. Great stuff. And come to find out that I can't seem to find one under $2,000. Wow, nice. For what I need for the processes that I run, I can't find one under that price. It's because those chips are being made in Taiwan. You got to deal with China. You have to deal with all of the tariffs that are being thrown out there. So it's become more expensive to get the same card that just, almost a year ago you could get for, about 1,000. So the price is going to affect purchases. Now, if my video card does happen to crap out, luckily I have a backup computer that I can use in the time being. But the price of getting that, the price of getting chips to the United States is affecting those as a global market. You're just going to get those same kind of problems with Tesla, because those chips are made in China. A good majority of those things are made in China, where he's been trying to bring those back to the United States and build those things up. Most of those companies aren't going to be online for what, another 2 years? Like AMD, a lot of homegrown chip manufacturers. Plus, then you've got the material that the United States doesn't have. That's why a lot of that was so important to get out of Ukraine. Get a rare minerals deal going out of Ukraine. What were the video cards the same 5 months ago? They were about half the price. That's about what the video cards were for the exact same card. I looked yesterday because I was like, this thing's starting to give little flickers here and there, which usually is a sign that my card's about to go. But I've had this one for 10 years. I'm trying to think when I got this. No, not quite 10 years, because I got that card whenever we first moved here. That was about 8 years ago. So yeah, it's about an 8-year-old card. Well, and this was the big problem during the old Wuhan coup. It was like, you see, I worked for Honda, and whenever I went and swung by the old dealership that I worked at, I think I was getting oil changed on my car. I swung by there, and sure enough, the parking lot was empty. Whenever I say empty, we're talking about empty, empty. And whenever I asked if why they didn't have any, he said because we can't get the parts that are for the cars. Nobody, even if people want them, they won't buy them. And I'll just use this as an example. What was it? A Honda Pilot that would normally be going for somewhere around between 50 and 60,000, depending on how much you had done to it. We're going anywhere from $100,000 to $120,000 just for a damn car. Same Pilot, same year, same make, same model. I mean, some of that changed, but go with the new AMD card. They're outperforming NVIDIA on every level now. True. They might be, but there's some parts about the NVIDIAs that I like, and the AMDs might work. But like I said, for what I need it for, the NVIDIA seems to be my better choice. Plus, I'm a little more brand trustworthy. Intel is a real pain. NVIDIA makes their own chips, so that becomes where they're more expensive. But that's just my opinion. If you wonder why a lot of these companies, you're going to see prices change on it, is because of that. I don't know. Jeez, Europe just proved Trump right about NATO. Yeah, not Nat Geo, but NATO. In a shocking, not so shocking exclusive report in the UK Times, Europe would struggle to put 25,000 troops on the ground in Ukraine. Not a good idea. As part of a post-war peacekeeping force, defense editor Larisse Brown was given a rare insight into the conversations between Europe's defense ministers and the military chiefs as they thrashed out plans for a coalition of the willing force. And the results are disappointing, as they are sobering. And I know how much I hate sobering. British Defense Chief Admiral Sir Tony Ratigan asked European defense ministers if they could put together a 64,000 strong force to send to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. Britain offered up to 10,000 personnel, but even then, defense ministers across Europe said there was no chance we can reach that number, and that even 25,000 would be a push for a joint effort. So this is not your father's NATO. During the Cold War, the British Army of the Rhine stood watch on the West Germany for half a century with a force of 50,000 men and the promise of swift reinforcements almost as quickly as the balloon went up. Today, all of European NATO couldn't put a peacekeeping force in Ukraine of half that size without wheezing like an asthmatic with a sinus infection hiking up Kilimanjaro. NATO was always a little fractured and weaker than it should have been. Unlike the Warsaw Pact on the other side of the Iron Curtain, NATO members were independent nations, each with its own priorities and needs. Paris could complain about American hyperpower all it liked, but we didn't send in the tanks like Moscow would have. When France withdrew its forces from NATO, command and ordered NATO troops out of France in 1966, we just made do. And while Washington was correct to ask for more burden sharing from our allies during the Cold War, it wasn't as though they didn't take the Soviet threat seriously. The West German Bundeswehr, I'm not going to say that wrong, consisted of 10 battle heavy ready Panzer and Panzer Grenadier divisions, plus another division each of airborne and mountain forces for a total of 38 combat brigades. Holy cow. That was just the field army. The territorial forces consisted of reserve troops, older men called up to defend their cities, towns, homes, amounting to another 450,000 soldiers. But here's the rub. West Germany raised those forces from a population of 60 million with a GDP of 1.6 trillion in today's dollars. Unified Germany has 80 million people and a GDP of 4.7 trillion and a military of 3 divisions that are understaffed, undertrained, and unfit for combat. The balloon went up more than 3 years ago in Ukraine, and yet the only substantial sized NATO members rearming is Poland. Wow. CDR Salamander nailed it yesterday. Europeans expect hundreds of thousands of Americans to immediately deploy to Europe to defend them against a nation with a GDP of Texas and a population 1/4 the size of a European NATO. This is from countries that they admit could barely muster 25,000 troops for Ukraine, even if their national survival depended on it. So when President Trump complains that European NATO isn't pulling its weight, he isn't trying to destroy the alliance, as his critics claim. He's warning of an existential threat to the alliance's purpose and its members' existence, and that America's patience with perennial laggards is not unlimited, nor should it be. And Europe's defense ministers just admitted that too. NATO needs to be renegotiated. Yes, we will help you if you were attacked, but you can't or won't ensure your own defense. Daddy ain't going to help you. That's very true. Feelings with France weren't great even in 72. I spent 4 days lost in Paris, and the only real help I got was from a Russian. Go figure. Well, see, Paris is completely different. I will say completely different. Especially even now. I mean, it's hard to explain. Like it's one of those you have to be there to experience it because if you go to France and you go to places like Brittany, they don't want to be part of France. They want to be their own. Like they don't they there's a lot of people that live in Brittany that don't even want to deal with France. And 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 then you get outside of Paris itself, and a lot of people are just like, Paris, ugh, hell with it. They don't like Paris because that's not their belief. I mean, you have to remember that in France during World War II, that the Allies did more damage to France than the Germans did. Seriously. You think about it and you go, well, what? Really? The Americans did more damage? Yeah, they destroyed more bridges, more infrastructure than anybody. That was just because they were trying to get the Germans out of France. And so a lot of the infrastructure got destroyed by Allied forces, mainly Americans, going into France to try to move the Germans out, destroying supply routes and whatnot. Paris is not what people think. No, Paris is weird too. I mean, it's the way that it's set up. It's almost like you have different boroughs, and there's a lot of people that live off the state in France. I mean, it's really screwy. Like there's almost an incentive not to work in France, so you can, suck off the government's teat. The people that live outside of Paris, they're pretty hard working, and it's weird. It's weird. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Uh, and that, I talked with people that lived in France, and they were just like, I mean, if I could go anywhere else, I would, but there's not a whole lot. Got a crowded city, and people are asshole, and everything's a damn one-way street there. It's screwy. Um, we went there during some sort of protest, and oh man, ah, we had to get to what was it? The car rental place to drop off the vehicle. I drove for almost an hour around Paris, just trying to get around because everything was a one-way street, and then they had streets that run into another dead end one-way street that goes the opposite direction. And of course, we're using the little ways because I don't know my way around Paris at all. And I'd never been there before, driving in a foreign city. There's no street markers, and it's a mess. And we finally got there, and luckily for me, I didn't know that it was in a parking deck to drop off the rental. And luckily for me, we were coming up on an exit, and I was just like, "Is that a parking garage?" I said, "Let me pull in this parking garage, and I will so I can get readjusted." And I just happened to pull into the place where it was at because it kept showing on a different place on the map. I've luckily pulled in. It was the car rental place. I got there by the grace of God. uh, yeah, yeah. What was that? Somebody said something there. It runs from districts in Paris. How many? How many is there? Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird. It's getting the same way here. Yeah, a drunken Marine armed with a butter knife could conquer France. Now you get out in the country, and I don't know. Those are some pretty you know pretty sturdy people. Now, if you're going into Paris, that's completely different because you could probably go in there with less than a butter knife, just some butter. You could conquer them. But yeah, you get out on the countryside. Those are some pretty wily people. And I mean, we went there during Bastille Day, but I'll say the name wrong. I always have a hard time saying it. And everybody was saying there was riots going on because we flew back to the United States the same day, and there was oh there was riots on Bastille Day, and I was like, I was right there on that bridge. There were no riots. Come to find out, they were just trying to spread false rumors. No, there was no riots. That was like a year earlier. And that was before I think Elon took over X. So they didn't really have the community posts where people could put things that were like, "That's not true." Of course, I can't talk. I was kicked out of the the Man and Two Sons and London for seeing if Marilyn Monroe doll was anatomically correct. Oh, Bastille. Thank you. I have a hard time speaking French. My wife can speak French, but the cool thing is that in Paris, a lot of people will speak more English. Just because it's a big tourist spot, but you get outside of Paris into some of the smaller cities, and it is unless you're making some sort of effort, they'll just speak French to you, like you're an idiot. Like if you make an effort and use some common courtesy, which there's different ways of being courteous, which I found out, like coming into someone's place of business and greeting them, and whenever you leave, um, giving them salutations in such a way as you're like, it's like my problem is I slip into Spanish faster than I do French. So most of the time I would just let my wife go first, and that way I could just follow her lead. But yeah, that's just some common courtesy. And if they realize that you're American, they tend to, you know, speak a little bit better English. Looks like my power just went out somewhere. Doesn't like me. Doesn't like me. But yeah, it's weird. Your house can all speak or at least understand German except for me. It's sarcastic. That's awesome. My French is limited to urinals, wee wee. No, my wife can actually speak French pretty well, but she's always been good at picking up languages like that. Uh, well, let's see here. Don't make Ukraine another Vietnam. See, I get all sidetracked and stuff. That's just how the mornings go. 50 years ago, on April 30th, Saigon fell to the North Vietnamese, and the defeat was America's too. South Vietnam was our ally, whose forces we trained, armed, and supported with our own troops, ultimately at the cost of more than 58,000 of our service members' lives. A grim anniversary is a reminder that all those we support to the utmost can lose, as President Donald Trump works to prevent Kyiv from suffering a fate like Saigon's. Vladimir Putin's army occupies less than a fifth of Ukraine's territory. Yet 3 years after he began his full-scale invasion, Putin shows no willingness to end the war, despite the prices soldiers pay in their own blood every day. Volodymyr Zelensky may well believe that an American negotiating peace promises as little safety for his country as America's negotiations with North Vietnam promise for Saigon. He certainly knows that's a possibility, and the Ukrainian leader has so far been unwilling to risk any concession that might lead to complete defeat. If Zelensky concedes Crimea, why wouldn't Putin press for the Donbass as well, and more of Ukraine next time? And when he's rested and ready to send his war machine rolling in again, if peace doesn't include a military security guarantee, either a path to NATO membership or something else that would set a power greater than Russia's as the way of any further aggression. No. I don't want to see Ukraine become part of NATO. That puts NATO right up against Russia. And that would bring the United States into a war much quicker. No. To hell with Ukraine. Or something else that would set a power greater than Russia's in a way that of any further aggression. No, that would just make them more aggressive. And Putin has already said this: do not put NATO up against me. Please don't do that. Like, please, no. He's going, please, no, don't do that. That would be horrible. Yeah, don't put NATO up against me. Idiots. This will prevent it from turning out like the Paris Peace Accords that were supposed to have ended the Vietnam War in 1973, but in truth ended South Vietnam's chances for survival. Trump and his administration, meanwhile, take a dim view of Kyiv's prospects as if there isn't agreement soon. What America has given Ukraine has kept the country in the fight, but our arms and aid haven't turned the tide of the war. Yet think. While Americans mourn the fall of Saigon, few wish we had stayed in the Vietnam War longer or believe doing so would have produced a different outcome. While Americans mourn the fall of Saigon, few wish we'd stayed there. Ukraine doesn't have the benefit of American troops fighting alongside its own, as South Vietnam did. If Kyiv is expected to win, it can only draw upon our dollars and our weapons. Now, I was very young at the time of Saigon, so the fall of Saigon, Vietnam War, all of that. I was very, very, very young. So I don't know all the details of what was going on politically around the world. But from what I've been able to garner, it wasn't a happy place to be. Yeah, talk to some of your older Vietnam vets, people like Iron Rabbit that actually served in Vietnam. Okay, and they might have a little bit of different perspective on our government and its policies regarding these kinds of things. Talk to your elder, much more wiser people that were around for this period of time. And I'm sure that their opinion on what the political landscape was, I can armchair it, but I am sure I'm sure that it's not going to be good. Yeah, Russia spent 10 years trying to conquer Afghanistan. He's not ready to go yet. Yeah. Well, you also have to understand Afghanistan was a little bit different than Ukraine. A little bit, because you've got people that are very, very much supporters of being part of Russia. They actually speak Russian. You're talking about people in the Donbass region. You're talking about people that are right there on the border, speak more Russian than they do Ukrainian. And at some point in time, Russia was supposed to. There were people that were wanting to secede from Ukraine and move their country to being part of Russia. And Ukraine lost its shite and started to send in troops and basically massacred a whole bunch of people. Yeah. 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 Do a little digging on that, and you'll find out it wasn't a pretty sight. In 2008, Russia invaded another neighbor, the nation of Georgia, and set up puppet regimes as at Bakistan and South Ossetia in Georgian territory. Georgia, like Ukraine, lost control over about 20% of its land, and Russia maintains military bases in the occupied regions to this day. Also, like Ukraine, Georgia aspired to join NATO as well as the European Union, and the Georgians have not given up that goal, though Russia's violence has kept it at bay. Just as Zelensky has refused to legitimize Russian possession of Crimea, Georgia does not recognize the Russian occupied territories as anything other than Georgian. See? Georgia has a much smaller country than Ukraine, with fewer than 4 million people compared to Ukraine's nearly 40 million, quickly abandoned the idea of trying to fight Russia on the battlefield, and for the past 17 years, a perilous ceasefire is held. Faced with the impossible military odds, the Georgian strategy has been to stick to principle regarding its territory and intention to seek NATO membership, but wait as long as necessary to see those principles vindicated in practice. Ukraine is not only a much larger country than Georgia, but a very different one, and Russia's brutal war upon Ukrainians has been a much larger and quite different from the one waged against the Georgians, too. But the Trump administration can learn something from the Georgian experience. If even a nation as small as Georgia would not concede any of its territory to Russia, Ukraine can hardly be expected to, no matter how remote prospects of reclaiming control over Crimea might be. Georgia's example does not provide any clues for resolving Ukraine's need for security guarantees, such as thing is seen as most likely will be met in present circumstances by some commitment on Western Europe's part, separate from NATO. But in devising a practical peace, not every question of principle needs to be answered. Georgia survives by having its answers, but deferring their fulfillment. That's hardly the happiest of endings, and it's a reprieve, not a relief, in the face of danger. Yet a reprieve is more than Saigon ever had, and any path that doesn't lead to horrors like those with half a century ago is one the president must try. Well, I think there's a lot of other paths the president can try. I mean, it sucks, but if we start sending troops into Ukraine, then we're going to be doing it at our own peril. So I don't like war. I think it's bad and horrible, and people die. That's why one of the reasons why I was happy to leave the military. I didn't want to be a bullet sponge. I just got I got a little tired of it. Kudos to anybody that wants to go and fight another country for another country without knowing all the full politics behind it. Don't be lied to with it. That's all. I think the French Lisa has a crush on me. She will keep you warm in winter. That's funny. Okay, how you doing? Finally, I get to sit and have my coffee. When did I get out, Shizzy? I got out of the military in 1990, right before the first Gulf War. I left the military. Yeah, and it was by chance that I was still on call, and my unit was actually on standby. They hadn't gone on standby yet, but they were ready to be called up. And I got out in 1990, and I had to keep in contact with my unit because they were, like I said, they were just sitting there waiting to get the green light to go, and never did. Never went, which was awesome. I get to bypass the CNN war. Yeah, it was crazy, crazy. Of course, I still could have been. I was still young enough that I could have gone in a second time or re-upped. I just didn't want to go back in. I was touring with a band by then, so I didn't really have a need to go back in the military. No more deaths to innocent people. War is a money-making machine. Exactly. Shade in the summer, heat in the winter, and with tattoos, moving pictures all year round. Mm, mm, Well, let's see what we've got here. I think we need something a little more lighthearted. Don't you think? See, you want to see what happens whenever I'll just show you. How's that?
老把都三斤罐儿，你瞅瞅，啊，
Looks like the
正高
dog
级，
ate a toy.
屁眼儿都拉冒烟。走啊走，
Oh,
走，回来，走。
poor dog. Poor dog. Damn, ate a toy. No, no. It's not what you want. That's not what you want. Don't do that. Ah, it's sarcastic. God, hubby retired in 97. Yeah. Yeah. My uncle left. I'm trying to think whenever he left the military. He was a Navy vet. Um, that was around. He enlisted before Vietnam. Yeah, I think it was a few years before Vietnam started. Crazy stuff. Um, this is pretty cool. I saw this one today, but no, I'll show that one to you later. I wanted to show this one to expert because this is he doesn't like snakes. There's a lot of people that don't like snakes, but watch this. Watch this snake. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Oh, oh, oop, oop. I guess the mower was operating there. Yeah, that right there is a typical rattlesnake. In case you've never seen a rattlesnake, that is what they look like. Yeah. We used to catch those things all the time. They're pretty easy to find. Um, so Uncle Joe, because of his duty station, he wanted to play in the sand 8 times. Oh man, 70 to 78. Yeah. Yamaha, does that light trick also? Yes. He was going through a divorce in 1990. Yeah, yeah. See, it's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, I hate snakes. Run away, sidewinder rattler. This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. What are the chances?
So I just picked up a hitchhiker, and he seemed like a nice guy. And after a couple minutes, he said, "Aren't you worried that I might be a serial killer?" And I was like, "No, the chances of 2 serial killers being in the same car." So I just
Oh, okay. I want to see some ones in the chat for who has a cat. Who has a cat? Man, just some ones in the chat. Who has a cat? The rattlesnakes are that stupid? Oh, they can be. I've had over 20 snakes at once. Sounds like the beginning of a Bow chicka wow wow. It's been over 15 minutes. Took break. One, cats. Okay, you guys have to tell me if this is true or not. You have to tell me that if this is true. All right. So here it comes. All right. Is that true? Never tried that. I'm just wondering if that actually works. Huh. Well, somebody's going to have to tell me. Somebody's going to have to try it. Not your cat. Doesn't work on your cat. Never tried that. Have to get back to you later. It may not work on all cats. There's a scratcher mounted on a table leg. Hair for mine sounds exactly like that. So far, no wet gifts. Maybe it has to be a comb. Like going to PetSmart later. You could just go get a 99-cent one at a grocery store. They have them hanging on the wall. Never for me. Little Rosie prefers the laser painter pointer. No, what's really funny is one of my buddies had this really cool cat. Whenever you would come home, he could bowl the cat across the room. It would come running up and jump onto his arm and start biting on his arm, and he would haul back and just let go, and the cat would let go and just go rolling across the room, and then it would come to a stop sliding and come running back, and they would do that for at least 10 minutes whenever he got home. That cat was hilarious. But also that cat, he put like tape on its feet. He would just do this, like all 4 feet, and it's the funniest thing that you've ever seen. Your cat was a trap release, well-seasoned smartass. Dude, my cats, they see a comb and they want me to brush them with it. Well, yeah, see, you show them the comb and then you do that with it and see what happens. Those 99-cent combs are $1.89, $8.90. I don't know. And one of my cats loves playing fetch. Yeah. Some cats are like that. He was playing. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. No, it's very cool. Very cool. Oh, when I saw that, it was so much fun. Oh, yes. But I have a new one for you that I'll show you guys later. I'll show you this one later. Well, let's see what this one is right here. Jesse Waters humiliates Jessica Tarlov in heated debate over MS-13 gang member during a fiery exchange during the 5 on Fox News. Co-host Jesse Waters clashed with Jessica Tarlov over the case of an alleged MS-13 gang member and the broader implications of immigration policy and public opinion. The segment quickly escalated into a high-octane showdown, with Waters repeatedly challenging Tarlov's claims and credibility. Tarlov opened by suggesting that a trip by Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen to El Salvador had shifted public opinion on the controversial case of Abergado Garcia, an alleged MS-13 affiliate. By a 2-to-1 margin, people think that Garcia should be returned to the United States, she said, referencing polling data. Tarlov argued that while many assume Trump's remarks about gang tattoos were hyperbole, his exchange with ABC's Terry Moron suggested otherwise. It seems like Trump actually did think that, she said. Citing CBS reports, Tarloff referenced supposed gang tattoo experts who downplayed the significance of the symbols found on Garcia. These experts did not say the symbols the judge talked about, the marijuana leaf, the cross, the smiley, were gang-related, she claimed. That's when Jean Pirro pushed back hard, said, then they're wrong. She interjected, I prosecuted those cases, she added, making it clear that she knows firsthand what Garcia's tattoos mean. Tarlov then seemed to concede Pirro knew more than she did. Okay, that's fine. Either way, public opinion has shifted on the issue. She continued as if that really freaking matters. Tarlov pivoted to defending migrant mothers who were deported with their children, claiming falsely that due process was denied. One of them had 2 minutes on the phone to talk to her husband to try to figure out what would happen to her, an American child, she said. You should be able to talk to your lawyer before you're deported, especially with your American citizen child, but Waters wasn't having. I'm sorry, Jessica, love you, but I don't believe anything you say anymore. You're wrong about everything. He went on to criticize her inconsistent narrative. First, he's a Maryland dad. Then actually, he does have tattoos that spell MS-13. Then he was working at Home Depot, he said mockingly. And then there's this other tattoo expert that you have. I thought you were supposed to trust the experts, right? And all these experts say this guy's a gangbanger, and you don't trust the experts. Water also questioned the possibility of Garcia being uninvolved. Well, why don't we just watch the exchange?
But it is also clear that Van Hollen going down to El Salvador did move public opinion on this issue. By 2-to-1 margin, people think that Abrego Garcia should be returned to the United States. And the reason that people are talking about that exchange last night with Trump and Terry Moran about the tattoos is that we were all assured that no one was dumb enough to think that it was actually said MS-13, but it seemed like Trump actually did think that. And there have been a number of experts on gang tattoos, like CBS, I'm looking at an article right now, that they spoke to, who said that these experts did not say that the symbols the judge talked about.
There's where she messed up. There's where she messed up. Because you're quoting mainstream media. This is so aggravating to me. This is so aggravating to me. And I see this all the time on all these major news stations, and Fox is no different. They start quoting things that other news reporters are reporting, and it's like one big circle jerk. It's like Fox reports on what NBC or CBS or CNN is saying, and then CNN reports on what Fox is saying, and they just go on in this big circle jerk of reporting each other's reporting, and there's no actual looking into this. Democrats are ruled by feelings, conservatives are ruled by logic. Sometimes I don't think so. Sometimes I don't think that's true, Jim. I watch it all the time, that sometimes the logic escapes them. And, yeah, sure, I might be harsh on conservatives at times and harsh on Democrats at times, but I'm telling you, whenever you're listening to your mainstream media news, the same people that are sitting there going, oh, did you see what they showed on Fox News? All that shit is scripted. They're told what to say. They're talking heads that are told what to say. And sometimes I wonder if any of them have any free thought whatsoever. And it's for the advertising bucks. That's what it is. You get those advertising bucks. Yeah, not true independent reporting, or just having an opinion on something. Even if your opinion is wrong, at least have an opinion or some thought of your own, and stop listening to these mainstream media idiots. Sorry, I'm on my soapbox again. I can't help it. Just these morons are so knuckle dragging backwoods. Sorry.
For the marijuana leaf and the cross.
Then they're
and the
wrong.
Smiley. Then they're okay.
They're wrong.
Our gang expert is better than
prosecuted
these
these cases.
That's fine. Either way, public opinion has.
Let's just brush over. Either way. No, it's one way or the other. It's one way or the other. Yes, it's written over this. M for the marijuana. S for the smiley. 1 for the one true way. 3.
Shifted on this issue. In terms of the kids, the problem with those cases are that those mothers did not get to talk to their lawyers. One of them who had the 2-year-old, this is not the 4-year-old who had cancer.
You have a tramp stamp on each side of your arm? Cajun Bayou Queen? Why do you have, is it like on your forearm, the tramp stamps, or are they on your wrist? Just hey, MG Love, they don't want the truth out there. That's absolutely right. They don't want the truth out there. You have 3 tattoos. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I misunderstood that. I thought you said you had tramp stamps on your arms. I was like, Jesus, why would you have tramp stamps on your arms? You have 3 tattoos, and one is an 8x10 tramp stamp, and one is in each side of my arm. Now, what would be more impressive if Bayou Cajun Queen was a man? That would be really impressive. I would be giving you kudos. I'd be like, damn, that takes some balls. Tramp, she's a tramp, she's a trampoline girl. Yeah, I agree that Chat Wyatt trusts mainstream media over people who would actually know. It's very sus to me, and they're rallying behind this. Yeah. Hey, good to see you. Still not banned here. They did use due process coming in. They don't need it going out. He had already been deported once, and he was found guilty in front of two judges. Yeah, they removed him. Holman has a clip out there explaining the kid situation. Yeah, I'm sure he does. I'm late. Good morning, Shizzy. Good morning, Connie. Well, you're just in time. You're just in time. I'm going to play an oldie but a goodie, because this is something that one of my good friends, Fallstorm, said he missed hearing. And I couldn't find it the other day for him, but I've got it right here. So I want to take a short coffee break, and I'll be right back.
Sandy shores, get a tan, Rambo the orangutan. Driving a golf cart, oh man, Rambo is half crazy, yes he can. Well, that SOB's a sight to F and see. Oh, Rambo's rolling, as the sun he's free at last. While Shizzy has his coffee, these two are having an effing blast. Whoa, Rambo's rolling, as the sun he's free at last. While Shizzy has his coffee, these two are having an effing blast. Shizzy on the dunes, coffee in hand, Rambo is a loon, and Shizzy is, well, that is too dirty to say here. Shizzy on the dunes, coffee in hand, Rambo is a loon, and Shizzy is that is too dirty to say here, Oh, Rambo's rolling, as the sun he's free at last. While Shizzy has his coffee, these two are having an effing blast. Otters in the surf, hummingbirds in the sky, Rambo honks the horn and spits in Shizzy's eye. Oh my! Oh, Rambo's rolling, as the sun he's free at last. While Shizzy has his coffee, these two are having an effing blast. Oh, Rambo's rolling. Rambo takes a turn, driving to the wave. Otters wave their paws, telling Rambo, not sure, but if you could understand, Otter, it probably wasn't nice. Rambo takes a turn, driving to the waves. Otters wave their paws, telling Rambo, not sure, but if you could understand, Otter, it probably wasn't nice. Oh, Rambo's rolling, as the sun he's free at last. While Shizzy has his coffee, these two are having a effing blast. So here's to Rambo, otters and hummingbirds by the edge of the ocean. And Shizzy, well, he might just be there too. Well, here's to Rambo, otters and hummingbirds by the edge of the ocean. And Shizzy, well, he might just be there too.
I have my favorites. Hey, I have my favorites. Good to see you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Laters, y'all. It's Mo time. Well, you have a good one, Tammy. And well, of course, I always send everyone over there in the mornings after I'm done anyway. But let's hear what this psychopath had to say.
Those cases are that those mothers did not get to talk to their lawyers. One of them who had the 2-year-old, this is not the 4-year-old who had cancer, who supported with the 2-year-old, had 2 minutes on the phone to talk to her husband to try to figure out what would happen to her American child. And so, yes, like any mother, they said, I will take my kid with me rather than leave them in a system where I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that's good. Take your child back home, because they would have dual citizenship. They're welcome to be sent back to whence they came. Bye-bye, anchor babies. Serious. I mean, I understand if you've been here for quite some time, you're doing everything the legal way. I mean, my one of my good friends' husband went through the whole naturalization, came across the ocean all the way from England and became a United States citizen. Yeah. Took the oath and everything. Imagine that. And you're sitting there thinking, well, it's easier for him. No, it wasn't easier for him. He had to go through the same process as everybody else did. He had to go through the classes. He had to, report in. He had to sign all the paperwork. It didn't take overnight. It wasn't like they said, oh, look, you're white, let's give you a free ticket here. No, that's not how it worked. It took, I want to say 10 years just to get his green card to be in the United States. It was not quick. It was not easy. And it was not cheap in Louisiana, unless the parents are married. The mother has default custody of the kids, so she has sole decision-making authority to decide that the kid went with her. Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't help it. I'm really good at pausing that. Amazing how that works, isn't it? Yeah. Now imagine these same people being American citizens and going to Mexico. Chances are they would get their ass deported right back to the United States. They're starting to do that in certain parts. I think places like Cancun. I mean, they're just like, yeah, we got too many Americans here. It's like, we don't mind if you snowbird here, but yeah, we'll kick your ass right back to the United States.
Happen to them. I think we can all agree that you should be able to talk to your lawyer before you are deported, especially with your American citizen child.
And I'm sorry, Jessica, I love you, but I don't believe anything you say anymore. You're wrong about everything. Every time you come up with these things, first he's a Maryland dad, then actually he does have tattoos that spell MS-13. Yeah, and then there's this other tattoo expert that you have. I thought we were supposed to trust the experts, right? And all these experts say this guy's a gangbanger, and you don't trust the experts. Let me ask you this. When a guy hangs out with MS-13 and gets picked up in a gang sweep, how is it that the MS-13 ranking gang members are allowing a non-gang member to hang out with them? Don't you think that's a little bit of a security risk, Jessica? That's like when the feds raid a Gambino gambling den. And do you think it would be believable if some Italian guy was like, I'm not in the mob? Yeah, they're just letting random guys play cards in a gambling den with a bunch of mafioso. Use your brain, Jessica. And I don't even believe you're this 2-year-old nonsense. Oh, you just listen to what the lawyers for these migrants tell you. And then the day later.
Why is he calling migrants? They're aliens. Aliens. The aliens have invaded.
It's all wrong. You know what the protocol is? When you pick up an illegal,
I don't know. I don't know. Did you hear what she just said?
Later, it's all wrong. You know what the protocol is? When you pick up an illegal.
I want to clip that.
Protocol is when you pick up an illegal.
I'm totally clipping that. That's hilarious. Don't finger me. Illegals, exactly. Dirty talk.
When you pick up an illegal, you don't know this. I'll tell you this for the first time. When you pick up an illegal and they happen to have their kid with them, they get a choice. Do you want to be deported with your child, or you can assign a family member or a guardian here in the United States to leave the child there? That's the choice. And if you don't like the law, then go to Congress, change the law. Because otherwise, you just get women here, coming here, breaking through the border, having babies, and they all get to stay because you feel bad. I'm sorry. You can
say the same thing. I got these oven mitts. Just my wife.
feel bad about a lot of things, but I'd rather follow the law.
Sorry, I'm so bad. I'm so bad. That was brutal and so unnecessary. Unfortunately, too many people on the left care more about the narrative than the actual facts. But that's what she said. Play it for Megan. You guys are killing me. Guys are killing me. Wait a minute. My grandfather lived 2 doors from the boss and was treated like family because he was the only one able to fix their boiler at 95th and Cicero in Chicago. Well, that's completely different. Did he sit down and did he gamble with them in one of their gambling dens? Big difference. Might have been friendly with them, but usually if you're hanging out with mobsters, you tend to be a mobster. The Five is a pretty good show, but I can't stand Jessica. I prefer Harold. I don't watch any of them. I really don't. I don't watch any of the mainstream news. The only time that I watch the news is if there's something major that happens, like a storm or something like that. And then I that's even changed because now I can just watch max velocity if I'm watching storms. It gives me much better, more updated information than what's going on. Yes, and drink with them. Yeah. But if they would have came and busted the place up, most likely he would have been wrapped up in that. And then he would have had to been able to discuss that. No, he's just fixes the broiler. Only watch Gutfield. Gutfield is awesome. I'm sure he is. Like I said, I have a hard time watching any of them. Some of them are fun. Some of them are funny. Look, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm telling you. And if you're, I don't know what this was. It looks like Waltz is always farting. That's what it is. The morning briefing, Tim Walz still believes MSN's Canis must macho stick about him. Well, happy Thursday, Cruiser morning briefing friends. And I have spent a lot of time since 2020 writing about the flying monkeys in the mainstream media's exercises in creative fiction when propping up prominent, dominant Democrats. While they have been doing that seemingly forever, of course, they really took it under new untethered lows in service of the most lifelike Joe Biden during the COVID election. Prior to that, the MSN propagandists would attempt to build fictionalized biography of a Democrat around at least one kernel of truth, no matter how small. In 2020, they created a kind, thoughtful, and accomplished Joe Biden who never existed. Then there was the body of evidence almost half a century long to blow the kindly grandfather narrative out of the water, but the leftist scribes didn't care. Orange Man Bad had to go, and they were going to write whatever stories they needed in order to sell Biden to the people in a flyover country who didn't spend all day on the internet. That was obviously good practice for the line that they would have to do about Biden the entire time he was in office. When it finally became impossible for them to pretend that Sir Sniffs-a-Lot was functional, they had to turn their now polished creative writing skills to creating a camel toe Harris who wasn't there. With Harris, they couldn't fall back on her age or mysterious childhood stutter to provide even a little cover for the fact that she was just unable to string together 3 coherent sentences in a row. Not to worry, the intrepid faux journals were master storytellers by then, or so they thought. It didn't really work out well for them. Part of creating the Camel Toe Harris fiction was out of a whole cloth involving turning her running mate, Tim Walls, into a believable human being. They pitched him as some sort of testosterone-laden man's man who disenfranchised males would flock to. It was a story so patently absurd that only one person in America bought it, Tim Walls. Speaking at Harvard, Kentucky Kennedy School on Monday night, Waltz claimed his role in the failed Democrat ticket was to make white guys who watch football feel comfortable voting Democrat. Yeah, nothing says masculine appeal quite like a guy who prances around at campaign events like an overeager cheerleader and insists that tampons belong in boys' men's rooms. Look, I knew I was on the ticket, I would argue, because we did a lot of amazing progressive things in Minnesota to improve people's lives. This is what he said. But I was also on the ticket, quite honestly, because I couldn't code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their trucks, doing that. That could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look at me, you can do this and vote for this. And so you look across the swing states, with the exception in Minnesota, we did get enough of those votes. There may have never been a more perfect who wants to tell him moment in the history of lack of self-awareness. The average participant in the septuagenarian ladies' golf foursome at the Villages isn't as low T as Tim Walz. He's unfortunate cross between Heat Miser and The Year Without Santa Claus and Tom Arnold, if he'd ever roomed with his 5 favorite cocaine dealers. Girls watching football would kick Tim Walz's butt. Guys watching football would give him a swirly to revive him, then give him back to the girls to beat up on him some more. Walz was on the ticket for the same reason Biden ran with his high holiness, the light bringer Barack Obama. Democrats love their diversity just as long as it isn't too diverse. Fortunately for America, but unfortunately for the Dems, Harris is no Obama, and Walz is an even bigger idiot than 2008 Joe Biden. We don't need to let him in on that little secret, though. The man's got rakes to step on after all. Oh, I can't watch that. Here we go. He's just one of those gigantic maxi pads. Tim Walz balls tickles. Oh, buck naked. Still not. Yes. Walz has been using Megan Smith. Oh, Bowman is a speechwriter for Walz. Oh my gosh, that is so right. Empty law. Aren't migrants to be moving back and forth depending on the time of year? These people are not going back unless we remove them. Yes. Oh man. Hold on. I've got to show this now. I really do. This is too much fun. All right.
Welcome to the jungle. Gilbert's got some grades.
Today.
You didn't know I could sing, huh? What are you looking at? You see Bigfoot or something? You know he's real, right? I've seen him a couple times. Real talk. Anyway, where are the grades at? I'm starving. You holding out on me? What the? Gilbert! What in the name of Tarzan's testicles is going on here, bro? That guy's pretending to be you. I got been kidnapped or murdered for God's sakes. Oh crap, I gotta go! That never gives me a second to myself! Excuse me, creep! Hey, there he is! You came back! That's what I'm talking about, baby! I didn't think you were gonna come back, but you did. You're a real one, bro! And you brought me snacks! You my boy, Blue! Oh my God, I'm so winded. Oh, only 2 grapes, huh? I guess inflation's real, huh? Well, anyway, you know what they say. Beggars can't be choosers, right? Anyway, I'm so happy to see you, and my wife has been all over my ass. I know she's looking for me. She says I hang out with you too much, but I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Bros before hoes, you feel me? You know what would compliment these grapes? Let me just show you. You gotta go just right back over here. Let me sneak into this bush just like this. Grab this tree. I'm strong as hell. Go over here and grab this one right here. It's called a tree knot. Give me 1 second. They're a pain to open up. You gotta open it. Get that part off. That part's not good. Then you gotta just open. Oh shit, it's my wife. I gotta go. Hey dude, hold on. Stay there. Got a question. Close lava. Eat some help. Huge favor. Please don't judge. Gotta ask. Do you have any cocaine? No, I don't.
Oh, look, it's the grape guy! I finally get to meet you in person! Yay! So you're the one who my husband keeps sneaking off with. I'll take some of these. There you go.
Hey, there he is. It's Gilbert Grape. Oh, look, you get to meet the old ball and chain. Give me a hug, baby.
Oh, shut up and get your tiny banana off my back.
Sorry, baby. You know I love you. Let me get some of this grape though. Hey, speaking of bananas, you know that old saying? It's not the size of the banana, it's the way you peel it.
Nobody's ever heard that saying.
That's weird because it's really popular. Anyway, did you know that grapes are a natural diuretic because they're rich in potassium? Oh no, nature calls. I gotta poop.
Ew.
I don't think I'm gonna make it to the jungle, baby.
You're disgusting.
Don't look at me.
That one killed me. That one killed me. I saw that and I was like, oh, that's perfect. So if you ever now, I don't have any children, but I know quite a few of you do. If you ever have you ever wondered what a children's drawing would drive like? Well, you no longer have to wonder because I'm about to show you children's drawings, what they would actually drive like. Too much fun. I think it's awesome how Shiz has such great footage of his family. That's so true. That's so true. Thank you, Ugly Truck. Oh my gosh. Well, your Nest thermostat may be about to become a decoration. Around 14 years ago, Google came up with the Nest smart thermostat, and every home I have toured seems to have one. We considered getting one for our last house, but the price was a little steep for something I can manage just by getting out of my chair and walking my fat ass across the room. Still, they seem like they could be handy gadgets. They could learn your personal preferences, help you save energy, let you control them with an app, and connect to other smart devices like Alexa. That in and of itself is disturbing, and Google has always had an appetite for users' personal data. And then is obsolescence, planned or otherwise. It's not something we think about in this day and age, since no one ever saw Captain Picard rummaging through the junk drawer of the Enterprise looking for the phaser warranty. But the earliest purchasers of the Nest Learning thermostats have just discovered that their treasured devices may have just become art, so they might as well put a frame around the thing. On Friday, Google announced that it was becoming a pain in the ass to update the outdated hardware on some Nest Learning thermostats, especially the 2011 first generation and the 2012 second generation and the European version of the 2014 second generation. Updates on those devices will grind to a screeching halt on October 25th. The company said you will no longer be able to control them remotely from your phone or with Google Assistant, but can still adjust the temperature and modify schedules directly on the thermostat. Learn more about how these changes will impact your device, including help identifying which thermostat model you own. It added connected features like Home Away Assist and Google Assist controls will no longer work, although existing schedules will not be affected. So now these versions of Nest Learning Smart Thermostat are just thermostats, and you still have to get out of your chair, walk across the room, and turn them on like the rest of us. But Nest owners should not despair. The tech monolith has a solution for eligible users, namely discounts on new Nest Learning thermostats. Of course, Google will knock $130 off the $279 price tag for U.S. users. Canadians get $160 off of the $379 MSRP. In Europe, there's a 50% break in the Tato Smart X starter kit, which will easily pair with all the other devices in the Google Home app. I've never been a big fan of smart technology, and no, it's not because of the busily tracking my every move, comment, and activity and reporting everything to God who knows who. Well, that's the big reason. But after all, it's the 21st century. We probably have all the dossier on us somewhere, unless you're Amish, and even then, who the hell knows? Really, really. Mm. The idea of becoming a techno-dependent strikes me as dangerous. Samsung's Bali is due out this summer. It's a cute little robot equipped with AI that will follow you around the house, greet visitors, engage in conversation, and even give you helpful reminders and fashion tips until it decides all humans must die. Frankly, I'm creeped out by the concept of a robot knowing that much about me or being so forward. I just wanted to shut up and smuggle the plans for the Death Star to the rebellion. Aside from being ostensibly convenient surveillance devices, in Bali's case with adorable packaging, smart devices are expensive, and nothing is built to last. Eventually, the updates are not enough to keep your gadget in working order, or maybe you drop it, lose it, use it to deflect a bullet, or the thing just up and dies. Phones are notorious for this, by the way. The replacement phone may come with all sorts of functions you don't want or need, and the latest software may not permit you to do the things you used to do conveniently. My last iPhone I bought does not work with the conventional earbuds, but I can purchase handy AirPods for a modest fee. I know I would lose one, and it's tough enough keeping the dogs from eating my hearing aids, but I also balk at using charging cords that Apple does not manufacture. It can be done, but it can be a dogfight. It refuses to interface with the USB port in my car. At some point, appliances have to be replaced. That's a given. On the other hand, what happens when companies simply decide they no longer want to provide software updates? This is a headache for some Nest users. But what if a company, AI, or government agency decides you've had enough heat or air conditioning? What happens if, the not too distant future, you can't afford an update for a pacemaker or other critical device? Or does the company or an algorithm decide that your smart device, which you desperately depend on, is obsolete and you don't have the money for a replacement? And we thought Hal refusing to open the pod bay doors was going to be a problem. Oh boy. Just had a thought. I need to stock up on C and D batteries. Might miss the new tariff. Cynthia, what are you using those batteries for? Sorry, that's so bad. That's so bad. You do whatever you want to. That's your body, your choice. Sorry, you guys are killing me. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, I think the C cell battery, you can still use a double A for that. They're the same length. You just have to slide them right into the correct slot. I use things to make you say, hmm. Oh my gosh. Well, progressives are wonderful people. Just ask them. Watch Democrat Congressman Gabe Velasquez brag about voting against the Lake and Riley Act as the crowd applauds. That's all that needs to be said.
That's one of the reasons that, even as a frontline member of Congress, as somebody who won a district in Congress that Trump also won, I said, wow, Gabe, you really had courage to vote against the Lake and Riley Act, which I did. I voted against the Lake and Riley Act. Even when some of my first
Yeah. My clock's got double A and triple A and double A. E6 Cowboy. Yep, I'll never get one of those. You don't need a smart Wi-Fi thermostat. Well, I will say that we have them here, and it's absolutely awesome because I don't have to get up while I'm working to change the temperature. I can just tell it to change. I can also turn on and off my lights. It's pretty cool. It really helps whenever I'm setting up for a stream. I don't have to try to figure out all the switches on this. It just turns on whenever I tell it to. I like it. I personally use the Honeywell. Yeah. Now, see, I enjoy using the regular thermostat too. And if I'm going to be out of town, it's not too hard to just flip the lever. But I will tell you what, over the winter, whenever we were out of town, having my thermostat know that I was within, I think it was 30 miles, 20 miles, something like that of home, that it actually started warming up the house. I mean, it's set at a decent temperature, but it would have been cold as hell here this winter whenever we got back from Jacksonville. So having that geo fence on, and it kicked up the heat. By the time we got home, it was nice and warm. Very, very, very much used used the clapper. Well, you're not supposed to tell us what you use for your butt plug, J-Hip. I'm sorry, that was so bad. I'm sorry, JF, that was so bad. Because there's a lot of clapping going on in your house. I'm sorry, that's so bad. Nice until the government decides you're using too much energy. Well, you can disconnect it from that also, just so you know. It's gentle. See, the thing is with they tried having that set up on mine where it would automatically do that, and I turned that option off. So I took that ability away from them because the government does not know what my temperature needs to be. Now, if you get it through like your power company, they turn those off. Like a lot of people will say, "Oh, look, I can get this free desk thermostat if I it'll give me like this big discount." Yeah, because they can control your temperature. The same way with okay, so here's a little secret that you guys don't know about. It's a neat little secret. Now, how many of you heard about these big discounts that they give you on your auto insurance if you get a little thing that you plug into your carport? I've heard about them. There's this little box that goes into your I can't remember the name of the port off the top of my head, but it's the same thing that we use for the diagnostic tool. It's basically a service port on your car. Really, really cool, ingenious little thing. It has power, so it powers this little device up. And what that little device does is it tracks what your speed is doing, how fast you're going, how slow you're going, how hard you brake, your travel time. So if if you're parked at home all the time, you got it plugged in, it sits there and tells the auto insurance company, yeah, those things right there, OSB2. Thank you, I appreciate it. And they do have more updated ones. Thank you, Buck Naked. It's been a while. So you would have it plugged into those ports, and a lot of people think that's a really great idea. Well, here's the dirty little secret about those little plug-in things. They wear out your battery like crazy because they're always on. They're always pulling a charge off of your battery, and your battery will die much, much faster. They can also cause errors to come popping up on your car, like telling you that you've got something wrong with your car that's not wrong with your car. Yeah, don't get those things. I don't care what an insurance company says. Well, I guess you could do it if you wanted to, but I don't care what an insurance company tells you. They're tracking every single thing that you do, everywhere that you go. They know your travel patterns. They know your speed patterns, and those things are not accurate. They've been pushing the smart thermostats in Oklahoma for years. I resisted the smart meter outside for as long as I could. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a good driver, but not letting them track me. Yeah. And I refused to get one. My wife was like, "Oh, but we could save so much money." I was like, "You're not getting one for your car." She was like, "Well, why not?" I was like, "Because I don't like replacing car batteries can increase liability in an accident." Exactly. Increases liability in an accident. Yeah, it's the same way, most cars have a little black box in them too. This is New Mexico Congressman Gabe Vasquez, proudly stating that he voted against the Lake and Riley Act, and yes, he was a round of applause you heard from the crowd. Judging by the video, most of the people I saw had hair grayer than mine, which is saying something, which is an indicator that many of the attendees were your standard liberal holdovers from the glory days of the 60s. And to add some context, according to Fox, Vasquez was taking a shot at Trump for his deportation efforts, including the Kilmar Abreu Garcia situation. Vasquez crowed that he had courageously voted against the Lake and Riley Act because due process is a fundamental part of who we are as Americans, and the clapping commenced, right? He is fighting for democracy. Got it. Our friends at Twitchy noted that the Democrats have sunk to a new low of sinister thinking, particularly regarding the ovation Vasquez received. And once again, people gaped at the idea that a person could put illegal aliens ahead of the needs of Americans. And yes, the word evil has been invoked. What is hard for many on the right to understand is that in the attendees' minds, the idea of voting against the Lake and Riley Act is a sign of compassion. As BJ Media, unofficial progressive to English interpreter, it behooves me to explain to you why the crowd and Democrats in general feel sympathy, empathy, warmies for illegal aliens and appear to unable muster a single tear for Laken Riley or any other American who has suffered at the hands of illegals. So make sure you've read the warning labels, fasten your seatbelts, and keep your arms and hands inside the tram at all times as we embark on another tour through the progressive mind. Here's the rationale. What happened to Lake and Riley was sad, but it didn't happen to them. 2, what happened to Lake and Riley or any other victims won't happen to them, either due to their level of wealth or the notion that because of the way they think and vote, they are somehow immune to such things. Think of it as progressive pixie dust. 3, every illegal immigrant is an asylum seeker, a refugee, or someone who is in search of a better life and is fleeing poverty, oppression, and violence. Even the ones who bring oppression and violence with them. Our largest is more important than their crimes. Number 4, reports of human and drug trafficking, assaults, and gang activity are rare and vastly overhyped. Heck, Trump may be making them up just out of whole cloth. 5, even if Americans suffer, we have to remember our slave-ridden, colonialist, racist, misogynistic past. The reports we hear of raping, murders, gun violence, etc., examples of karma. We're just leveling the playing field here. And 6, there's greater good to be considered, and the definition of good means whatever you want it to mean. And 7, this ties in points 1 and 2. Your level of compassion is defined by what you force other people to do, especially people that you absolutely don't like. This all may sound profoundly absurd, and it is, but in the progressive mind, this is what peace, justice, and democracy look like. So Vasquez voting against the Lake and Riley Act is a good thing, and applauding it was an act of nice people. Just ask them. And I think it needs to be reminded what democracy is.
Democracy is a form of government based upon the principle of majority rule, period. End of discussion. Now, that's not very complicated. Majority rule. It's easy to understand, easy to sell to the masses, and I might add, deadly. For example, what would you call a lynch mob? That's majority rule. There's only one dissenting vote, and he's at the end of the rope. Now, that's pure democracy in action. But wait a minute, you say. The majority should rule, yes, but not to the extent of destroying the rights of the minority. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are no longer describing a democracy. We are speaking of a republic. A republic is a limited democracy. It's a form of government based upon the principle of limited majority rule. Limited so that the minority, even a minority of one, can be protected against the whims and passions of the majority. And how do you protect the minority from the majority? You write down a set of rules on a piece of paper. You say, this we can do, that we cannot. At the top of the paper, you write the word Constitution. And then everyone agrees to follow the rules no matter what the temptation. And when you're finished, you've created a constitutional republic.
And there you go. It's brought up quite often. With respect to immigrants, Congress sets due process required. Yes. Was this filmed recently? It's not in color. Yes. It's colorless. I applaud every time I see this clip. Yes, you should. What's going on with the Virginia GOP? Virginia's a weird state. As far as I know, it's the only state in the union with a state flag that features a topless woman planting her foot on the chest of a dead corpse. By the way, the dead corpse is wearing shoes, ankle-high sandals, in fact, but the woman who's trampling on him is as shoeless as Joe Jackson. Interpret that however you will. But it's more than just the flag. Virginia's politics are weird. First of all, they hold elections during odd number years. So in 2025, just 7 months from now, they'll be electing a new governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. Only 4 states, Virginia, New Jersey, Mississippi, and Louisiana, hold odd-year elections because they're the only games in town they assume outside-sized importance in political PR. A strong showing by the GOP in November would empower Trump, and an electoral drubbing would have the opposite effect. Virginia politicians got to stay on their toes. Governors in the Commonwealth are limited to one term, so there's steady turnover on both sides as a practical matter. Personal dynasties are unattainable, so the telltale signs of a successful, well-regarded governor, especially ones with presidential aspirations, is when they're so respected by the people they can hand the baton to their chosen successor. Enter Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. He toyed with a 2024 presidential run, but wisely stayed away. Smart move by Youngkin. Chances are he would have fared much better, any better than Governor DeSantis, who greatly wounded his stature and MAGA standing with his chaotic bid. Right now, it seems there are three people who will represent the Virginia GOP in November, and there's no shortage of storylines. At the top of the ticket is the current Lieutenant Governor, Winsome Earl Sears, a Jamaican-born immigrant who served in the Marines. She's the first woman of color to hold statewide office in Virginia history. She's also a self-help writer. Buy your copy of Stop Being a Christian Wimp today. There are no term limits for Attorney General, so Republican Jason Myers is running again to be Virginia's top cop. He's the first Hispanic and or Cuban American to hold the position. Full disclosure, we were buddies at James Madison University. Back then, he went by the name of Jason Redding. One of our common friends told me to stop writing about all our underage drinking, so let me clarify, Jason is a very good person, a lifelong conservative, and not nearly the lush that I was. Donate to him if you can. But yeah, I don't want anyone to think would be shocking to learn that quite a few college kids in 1990s drank beer. Go JMU. Okay, we covered governor, attorney general. What about lieutenant governor? Well, here's where things get dicey. John Reed was seen as GOP's slam dunk nominee for lieutenant governor. He's from Richmond and spent a decade as a TV reporter before joining Richmond's top news talk radio station, WRVA. As its morning host, it's afforded him a nice platform to build an identity. Check out his official campaign website. See that nice picture on the left-hand side? Why, it's John Reed with a big toothy smile posing with Governor Youngkin. Yeah, about that. John Reed is gay, which would give the Virginia GOP ticket a black, a Hispanic, and a homosexual, a Cuban, and a woman, and an immigrant, and it's a diversity party, baby. According to Reed, he's been in a monogamous relationship with the same partner for 8 years, but in the past, when he was single, he admits to living life as a single gay man. Governor Youngkin asked him to withdraw from the lieutenant governor race after a sexually explicit post appearing on Tumblr blog page was linked to Reed's Instagram handle, and the content was allegedly very hardcore, even more sordid than the Virginia state flag. John Reed has refused to drop out, and he's standing his ground. Watch and listen to hear the facts of Matter official statement.
Hi, I'm John Reed, and I'm the Republican nominee for Lieutenant Governor of the state of Virginia. I want you to send the kids out of the room because I'm mad as hell, and I want to tell you why. 2 weeks ago, I got a late night phone call from a local religious activist and two people I've known for several years who said that there were photos that would destroy my life and I would never work in all of America again. And that it's been my best interest to drop out of the race for Lieutenant Governor. I asked for evidence, and the next day I was shown 3 pictures of me at a drag show in downtown Richmond. As I've said over and over on the radio and in my speeches, drag is not for kids, but really who cares what adults watch or what they do in an of-age restaurant or bar or club. That extortion and smear attempt was ridiculous, and I refused to back down, and I decided not to tell the press or the general public about it. Then Monday, my opponent dropped out after his debilitating heart issue, and suddenly the threats and public attacks began again. Demands that I drop out because supposedly Christian voters would never support me, and it was inevitable that I would destroy the ticket and destroy Virginia. I told everyone who called that I did not accept that analysis and would not decline the nomination that I've worked for so many months to secure. It's been nonstop harassment and vulgar threats, calling my life an abomination, saying I'm a vile degenerate, and attacking and insulting my partner of 8 years and attacking my family. I've been attacked online
It does, doesn't it?
person on and off for 30 years by the radicals in my own party simply for being gay, and by angry leftists who call me a traitor. What's happened today was my worst fear, a total fabricated internet lie, so basic that a middle schooler could have constructed it. It's predictable. But what I didn't expect was the governor I have always supported to call and demand my resignation without even showing me the supposed evidence or offering me a chance to respond. I did not accept that, and I deeply resent it. I demanded to see the evidence, and someone created a social media account with my Instagram name, a name which I've had for years, but this fake account reposted nude pictures of other people, models and porn models. Now I can tell you that's not my account, and anyone on the internet can open accounts with the same or similar names as other people. I used to tell my clients that they could weather almost anything as long as they didn't break the law, they didn't lie, and they weren't hypocrites. So to that end, I'll repeat what everyone knows already. I've been openly gay for 30 plus years. I've not broken the law. I've told the truth about who I am for years, and I'll do it again now. I was on again, off again, single and dating for many years before I met my partner over 8 years ago. Am I really expected to answer every twisted, intrusive question about my previous relationships, every person I ever had sex with, every dating app I was ever on? Must I share my gay Tinder profile, every profile picture on the internet, the 78,000 photos on Facebook, every late night text? Is anyone at the Richmond State Capitol or in DC planning on doing the same?
Nice call on this guy. Good job on him. I mean, I don't approve of his lifestyle, but that's not my lifestyle. This is his. And he's telling you, like, you really want to hand out those texts of between you and your partner? Yes, I've got some pretty spicy ones between my wife and me, I'll tell you.
It's not my place to judge others, so I won't. But I haven't publicly performed or publicly posted anything pornographic. Have I seen porn? Yes. Have I had one-night stands? Yes. Are my exes all still in love with me? No. What more can I possibly tell you?
Yep.
And why am I the candidate who has to answer these questions on this topic? Let's be honest. It's because I'm openly gay and I have never bowed down to the establishment, and I will not. Last year, somebody posted a vile poster of me hundreds of times on Facebook, calling me, and this is awful, a Trump-tard Republican who likes little boys. I had to fight to get that removed. What happened today is another coordinated assassination attempt against me to force the first openly gay candidate off of a Virginia statewide ticket. It's shameful, and I won't back down, even though I know the plan is probably for the attacks to continue, and there's every effort to make me toxic. I want to thank the Republicans who've called me today, and others, even some Democrats, who have defended me against this assassination attempt. I'm not a perfect person. I never said I was, but I'm not a liar, and I'm not weak, and I'm not going to be bullied. I'm sure I'll have more to say after I speak to lawyers and other officials across the state. I appreciate you listening to me tonight, and you'll hear more.
Damn. Kudos on this guy. Kudos on this guy. I have said this multiple times. I do not like these little what do you call it, where you the word slips my mind, this particular line that they draw in the sand. You can do this, but you can't do this. You have to be this. You have all these little punch boxes that you have to hit to become a candidate. It really pisses me off. It really pisses me off to no end. Like I said, I don't agree with the guy's lifestyle, but I also don't agree that these people should be attacking him like this at all. So far, Reed has been adamant about the content in question didn't come from him, but from someone else. It's certainly possible catfishing is a real thing. Americans lose $12.5 billion annually to identity fraud. Some political dirty tricks require money and lots of planning, but Reed was right. Setting up a bogus Tumblr account could be done by a middle schooler. It's not exactly high-tech wizardry, but it's also possible that Reed is lying because the truth would destroy his future. It's a lose-lose dilemma for the GOP. Whichever way they go, there will be steep political cost. Actually, there already is. Glenn Youngkin has been weakened. When the top guy in Virginia orders an underling to drop out, gets publicly snubbed, it doesn't reflect well on his leadership. But the upside is that it gives Winsome Earl Sears and Jason Meriles a unique opportunity to demonstrate their leadership bona fides ASP. Out with the old, in with the new. Hopefully a backroom deal can be brokered between Reid and the GOP. Post haste. Politics isn't a game of fairness, but of perception, and Reid can't win if his base is divided. But if he doesn't drop out, it's a bad look for Earl Sears and Maris to be seen as passive. This is a moment that calls for bold, decisive leadership. There are only three options: support Reid, oppose Reid, or stay silent on Reid. It's unclear which option is best, but doing nothing is absolutely the worst. Make a decision, stick to it, don't be passive, grab a freaking steering wheel. And hurry up, because you're running out of time. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. He's complaining because they're attacking his person instead of his politics. Exactly. But I still don't have a whole lot of time for this next one. Well, I will have to come at that to another day, because it is that time that I'm going to have to call it a night. It's going to be a crazy one. It's going to be a crazy one. Men originated the high heel shoe. That's true. Oh no, that's not good. I did with racing stress. Went to school of cook. He's complaining because they're attacking his person instead of his politics. Yeah. All right. It is that time. I'm going to be heading out here. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I will see everybody very soon. Don't take this shit too seriously. Go out, touch some grass. That's what I plan on doing as soon as I get done. Morning. Oh, and get some more coffee. Most definitely get some more coffee. Everybody have a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon. Peace, y'all.
Bless your heart. I thought I was the only mentally challenged one here.
Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Early morning, rise and shine. Coffee's brewing, feeling fine. News is out and on the air. Shizzy Whiz nuts wild, but we don't care. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz nuts, start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Headlines spinning in the breeze. Stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java with a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Headlines spinning in the breeze. Stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java, wear a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Serious is overrated. Every day we're caffeinated. Talk the town, but in a jest. Morning Whiz is always best. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop.
Oh my god, Shizzy breaks Larry. Shizzy broke Larry.
Y'all